My friends, listen up, because today I want to challenge the way you think about happiness. We live in a world that constantly tells us more is better. More money, more clothes, more gadgets, more. And yet, why are so many people still unhappy, stressed out, overwhelmed? It's because we've been sold the wrong idea. Happiness isn't found in more, it's found in less. We live in a culture that's absolutely obsessed with acquisition. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, we are bombarded with messages that tell us our happiness is just one purchase away. It's the new car, the bigger house, the latest phone, whatever shiny object marketers are pushing our way. And let's be honest, when we get that new thing, we feel a rush, a burst of excitement. Our brains light up with dopamine, and for a moment, it seems like the promise was real. But then what happens? That burst of happiness fades. The new car just becomes the car. The bigger house is just home. The latest phone is just another device to scroll through. The joy evaporates, and we're left looking for the next hit, the next purchase, the next upgrade. It's a cycle that never ends. Because the happiness these things bring is temporary. It's surface level. True happiness, the kind that fills your heart and sustains your soul, doesn't come from accumulation. It comes from appreciation. It comes from the depth of our experiences, not the quantity of our possessions. When we chase more and more stuff, we're often trying to fill a void, a sense of lack within ourselves. We think if we can just get enough things, we'll finally feel complete, whole, and enough. But the external can never fix what's internal. In fact, the constant pursuit of more often makes us feel worse. We start comparing ourselves to others who has the bigger house, the fancier car, the more luxurious vacation. Social media amplifies this, showing us curated versions of everyone else's lives, and we think we need to keep up. This comparison trap steals our joy, leaving us feeling inadequate and unfulfilled, no matter how much we acquire. There's a freedom in having less. When we let go of the endless chase for more, we free ourselves from the tyranny of consumer culture. We create space. Physical space in our homes, mental space in our minds, and emotional space in our hearts. Space that can be filled with things that truly matter, deep relationships, meaningful work, personal growth, and connection to nature and spirituality. Having less also means we can focus more. And when our lives are cluttered with possessions, our attention is divided. We spend time organizing, maintaining, and worrying about our stuff. But when we simplify, we can direct our energy towards our passions, our loved ones, our dreams. We can invest in experiences that enrich us rather than objects that merely occupy us. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the happiest. Was it when you bought a new gadget, or when you spent a spontaneous day with a loved one? Was it when you added another item to your closet, or when you achieved a personal goal? The moments that make us feel most alive are rarely about stuff. They're about connection, growth, and joy. By embracing less, we learn to appreciate more. We savor the little things, the taste of a homemade meal, the beauty of a sunset, the warmth of a hug. We become grateful for what we have, rather than resentful for what we lack. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to the dissatisfaction that drives overconsumption. It roots us in the present and reminds us that we are enough, just as we are. So, the next time you're tempted to buy something new, pause. Ask yourself, will this truly make me happier? Or is it a distraction, a way to avoid facing what I really need to work on within myself? Instead of reaching for your wallet, reach inward. Explore what's driving that desire and consider if there's a deeper need you can fulfill in a different, more meaningful way. Having less isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. It's about letting go of the excess to make room for the extraordinary. When we stop chasing more, we find that we already have enough. And in that realization, we discover a wellspring of happiness that no purchase could ever match. We live in a world that's louder and more distracting than ever. Everywhere we turn, something is competing for our attention. Notifications ping, emails pile up, advertisements scream for us to buy, subscribe, upgrade. Our physical spaces get filled with things we don't need. Our schedules overflow with commitments we don't even want. And our minds are constantly running, trying to keep up with it all. No wonder so many people feel exhausted, anxious, and overwhelmed. The truth is, we weren't designed for this level of clutter. Physically, mentally, or emotionally, when life is too crowded, it's hard to see what really matters. The more distractions we allow in, the more scattered we become. It's like trying to tune into a single radio station while 100 other frequencies are blasting in the background. You can't hear the music clearly because there's too much noise. But when you clear out the interference, suddenly everything becomes sharper, more vibrant, more meaningful. That's what happens when you remove the unnecessary from your life. Your priorities become clearer, your decisions become easier, and your happiness becomes more sustainable. Clutter isn't just about physical things. It's about anything that takes up space without adding real value. It could be toxic relationships that drain your energy. It could be commitments you said yes to out of guilt instead of passion. It could be mental clutter, the endless overthinking, self-doubt, and worries that keep you from fully living. When you allow too much of this in, your mind becomes like an overstuffed room, so packed that you can't move freely or breathe deeply. But imagine walking into a space that's open, clean, and filled only with things that serve a purpose or bring you joy. That's what happens when you declutter not just your home, but your entire life. One of the most powerful things you can do for your happiness is to start eliminating the things that no longer serve you. This isn't always easy because we get attached to objects, to routines, to people, to old versions of ourselves. We hold on to things because they feel familiar, even if they're weighing us down. But the moment you start letting go, you feel lighter. You start to realize how much of your time, energy, and space was being wasted on things that didn't truly matter. Think about your daily life. How often do you feel overwhelmed by your schedule? How much time do you spend reacting to things instead of intentionally creating your own path? How often do you find yourself scrolling through social media, consuming endless content that doesn't make your life any better? This is what happens when we let clutter, whether physical or digital, control us instead of the other way around. The good news is you can take back that control. The first step is awareness. Start noticing what's adding to your life versus what's just adding to the noise. Are your possessions bringing you joy, or are they just taking up space? Are your habits moving you forward, or are they keeping you stuck? Are your relationships supporting your growth, or are they draining your energy? When you begin to ask these questions, you start to see where the clutter is hiding. Once you see it, the next step is action. Begin simplifying in small ways. Maybe it's cleaning out your closet and donating things you never wear. Maybe it's saying no to commitments that don't align with your values. Maybe it's setting boundaries with people who pull you away from the person you want to be. Every little step you take towards simplicity creates more space for clarity, joy, and fulfillment. The beauty of decluttering your life is that it doesn't just create physical space. It creates mental and emotional space too. You start to think more clearly, feel more energized, and experience more peace. You become more present in your own life because you're no longer distracted by unnecessary excess. You make decisions with confidence because your priorities are no longer buried under layers of clutter. You feel a sense of freedom because you're no longer weighed down by things that don't matter. At the end of the day, clarity isn't something that magically appears. It's something you create. And the way you create it is by removing what's unnecessary so that what truly matters can shine through. The less you carry, the further you can go. The less noise you let in, the clearer your vision becomes. And the clearer your vision, the happier and more fulfilled you'll feel every single day. Imagine waking up in the morning and feeling light, free, and unburdened. No piles of things to organize, no mental stress over keeping up with everything, no overwhelming commitments weighing you down, just clarity, space, and the ability to move through your day with ease. That's what simplicity offers, freedom. And yet so many people cling to excess, more possessions, more obligations, more distractions, thinking that having more will make them feel secure, successful, or happy. But in reality, the more you own, the more it owns you. Think about it. Every item you own requires something from you. Your time, your money, your energy. You have to clean it, maintain it, repair it, store it, and keep track of it. The more stuff you accumulate, the more space it takes up. Not just in your home, but in your mind. It creates visual clutter, mental clutter, and even emotional clutter. You might not realize it, but a packed closet filled with clothes you never wear, a garage overflowing with boxes, or a schedule that never gives you a break can silently drain you. Each of these things is a little anchor, holding you back from the freedom you crave. True freedom doesn't come from acquiring more, it comes from needing less. The less you need, the less you stress. The fewer things you own, the fewer things you have to worry about. The less clutter you allow into your life, the more space you create for what truly matters: experiences, relationships, personal growth, and joy. When you start letting go of the unnecessary, you begin to feel a lightness, a sense of ease that no amount of possessions could ever give you. Simplicity isn't just about getting rid of physical items. It's also about decluttering your commitments and responsibilities. So many people overbook themselves, saying yes to things they don't even want to do, simply because they feel obligated. They fill their calendars with meetings, events, and activities that don't actually contribute to their happiness or purpose. But when you strip away the excess, when you focus only on what truly aligns with your values and priorities, you gain back control over your time. You gain the ability to be intentional about how you spend your days. And that's where real freedom lives. Think about your daily life. How often do you feel rushed, scattered, or exhausted? How often do you find yourself juggling too many things, feeling like there's never enough time? Now imagine an alternate reality where your days are spacious, where you have time for yourself, for the people you love, for the things that truly bring you joy. That reality is possible, but it requires letting go. It requires making choices about what actually deserves a place in your life. One of the most powerful realizations you can have is that you don't need as much as you think you do. You don't need an overflowing wardrobe when a few well-loved outfits can make you feel just as good. You don't need to own every new gadget when the ones you have work just fine. You don't need to say yes to every social invitation when you embrace this mindset, you stop feeling like you're constantly chasing something, and instead you start feeling content. And contentment is where happiness grows. Letting go of excess doesn't mean living in deprivation. It means creating space for what matters most. It means having the freedom to wake up and choose how you spend your time rather than being controlled by obligations, clutter, and distractions. It means shifting from a life of accumulation to a life of intention. The people who are happiest aren't the ones with the most, but the ones who have the freedom to truly enjoy what they have. When you simplify, you create room for adventure, creativity, and deep relationships. You create space to breathe, to think, to just be, You allow yourself the luxury of focusing on what's important instead of feeling weighed down by what's not. Freedom isn't found in having more, it's found in needing less. And when you choose simplicity, you choose happiness. Energy is one of the most valuable resources you have. It affects how you show up in your life, how productive you are, how present you can be with loved ones, and how deeply you experience happiness. And yet most people waste their energy on things that don't truly matter. On clutter, on distractions, on commitments that drain them rather than fulfill them. The truth is, the more unnecessary things you carry, physically, mentally, and emotionally, the less energy you have for the things that actually bring you joy and purpose. Think about how it feels to walk into a messy room, a space filled with piles of things, random clutter, and unfinished tasks. You might not consciously realize it, but that environment drains you. It creates mental noise. Your brain registers everything as something that needs attention, even if you're not actively thinking about it. Now compare that to walking into a space that is clean, open, and intentional, where everything has a place and the atmosphere feels calm. There's a different kind of energy in that space, right? You can breathe easier. You can think more clearly. The same thing happens in every area of your life. When your schedule is packed with obligations that don't align with your values, your energy is scattered. When your mind is full of worries, self-doubt, and distractions, your creativity and focus suffer. When your emotional space is cluttered with toxic relationships or unresolved conflicts, you feel heavy, even if you can't always explain why. The more unnecessary weight you carry, the less energy you have for what actually matters. Imagine if you started treating your energy like a precious resource, because it is. Imagine if, instead of giving it away to everything that demands your attention, you became intentional about where it goes. What would change in your life if you protected your energy and only invested it in what truly fulfills you? You'd probably feel lighter, more focused, and more at peace. You'd have more motivation for the things that matter. You'd be able to show up as your best self, not the tired, overwhelmed version of you that's always running on empty. One of the simplest but most powerful shifts you can make is learning to say no to what drains you. So many people feel obligated to do things that don't serve them, whether it's keeping up with possessions they don't need, maintaining relationships that take more than they give, or saying yes to commitments out of guilt or pressure rather than genuine desire. But every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are saying no to something that could energize you. Every time you hold on to something out of fear, you block yourself from the freedom that comes with letting go. Start small. Look around your environment and notice what feels heavy. Are there things you've been holding on to that no longer add value to your life? Are there commitments that take up space on your calendar but don't contribute to your happiness or growth? Are there thoughts that constantly cycle through your mind, keeping you stuck in stress and worry rather than moving forward? Begin to clear those things away. One by one, with each thing you remove, you reclaim a little bit of energy. You make space for something better. Energy isn't infinite, but it is renewable when you use it wisely. The more you invest it in things that bring you joy, purpose, and fulfillment, the more of it you will have. The less you waste it on clutter, whether physical, mental, or emotional, the more alive you will feel. Life isn't about seeing how much you can accumulate. It's about seeing how much you can experience, create, and enjoy. And that starts with focusing your energy on what truly matters. At the core of everything we do, everything we chase, and everything we desire is one ultimate goal: happiness. We all want to feel fulfilled, to wake up excited for the day, to have moments of deep joy and contentment. But too often, we believe happiness is something we have to find, something outside of ourselves. waiting to be discovered in the next achievement, the next purchase, or the next milestone. The truth is, happiness isn't something you find. It's something you create. And one of the most powerful ways to create happiness is by choosing gratitude and presence over the endless pursuit of more. When you're constantly chasing more money, more possessions, more status, you're always focused on what's missing. You train your brain to look for lack rather than abundance. You start believing that happiness exists just beyond your reach, always in the next step, always in the future. But if you can't find joy in what you have now, you won't find it in what comes next. Because no matter how much you gain, the feeling of not enough will follow you until you break the cycle. Gratitude is the key that breaks that cycle. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already have. And when you focus on what you have, you start to realize how much abundance already exists in your life. You begin to see the beauty in simple things. The warmth of the sun on your face, the laughter of a loved one, the quiet peace of a morning cup of coffee. These moments are always there, but they're easy to overlook when you're distracted by the idea that happiness is somewhere else. Think about a time when you felt deeply happy. It probably wasn't because of something you owned. It was more likely because of an experience, a connection, an achievement, a moment of pure presence. That's because happiness is not in things, it's in how you experience life. And when you strip away the distractions, the excess, and the noise, you become more present in those experiences. You start to feel life more fully instead of rushing past it in search of something better. The most joyful people aren't the ones with the most. They're the ones who appreciate the most. They see life as a gift rather than a race. They focus on what they can give rather than what they can get. They understand that fulfillment doesn't come from accumulation, but from appreciation. And the amazing thing is, the moment you start practicing gratitude, you start finding more reasons to be grateful. It creates a ripple effect. You become more aware of the good in your life, which makes you happier, which makes you more present, which deepens your relationships and experiences. It's a cycle that fuels itself. But gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a practice. It's something you cultivate daily. It's choosing to pause and appreciate instead of rushing to the next thing. It's reminding yourself that you already have so much to be thankful for, even when life isn't perfect. It's taking a deep breath and recognizing that right now, in this moment, there is something beautiful to notice. When you embrace gratitude and presence, happiness is no longer something you have to chase. It's something that's always available to you. It's in the now, in the little moments, in the realization that less isn't just enough, it's often more than enough. And when you live from that place, you don't just feel happier, you feel truly alive.